Welcome to the exploration of consciousness.
Countries with the most firearms per 100 people. Starting off at the 10th position, we have Iraq with 30 firearm per 100 people. Moving on to the 9th place, we have Iran with 31, Switzerland at number 8 with 32 firearms. Moving upwards at number 7, Uruguay with 32.5 per 100 people. Finland with 33 firearms secures its place in the 6th position. Reaching to the top 5, New Zealand at 5 with 34.5 firearms. Cyprus at the 4th place with 37 firearms. At 3rd place, it's Serbia with 38 firearms. At number 2, it's Republic of Yemen, with staggering 55 firearms per 100 people. Here is an interesting fact about Yemeni culture. Owning a firearm is considered to be a right rather than privilege, meaning anyone can own a firearm without a permit or license, as it's considered to be masculine in the Yemeni culture. However, at the top of the list, it's the land of free liberty and democracy, the United States with 120 firearms per 100, making Americans the most armed people in the world.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Exploration of Consciousness. I'm your host, Matt Presti. I've been threatening this podcast for a while. No pun intended on the word threat, but what do you do to mitigate threats? How do you secure your home? How do you secure your property, your individual rights? What are the things you do to practice good constitutional awareness, your Bill of Rights, your inalienable rights from the Creator? That being primarily your freedom of speech and worship, as well as your Second Amendment rights, which are basically the right to self-defense, which every creature in nature exhibits a self-defense mechanism, from the insect kingdom all the way up to the human world. So my guest today is a longtime friend. We've known each other for a decade or so, maybe more, and Chris Wegman. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
All
right. So I brought you on. We're going to do a little bit of situational awareness, just covering some, you served in the military. And why don't we, for the listeners, just give them a little bit of background. Who is Chris Wegman, and how did you come to the spot you're in today?
Oh, I was born and raised here in the Ozarks. You can tell by the accent. But I grew up as a kid rifling my hands, and something I was good at. Wound up becoming 11 Bravo Rifleman with the 101st Airborne. Started out with the 327th Bastogne Brigade and wound up in the 506th. Last tour was in the Battle of Ramadi. Made my rounds, seen a few things. So about all I can cover without violating OPSEC on a military history. Other than that, just laying low down here in the Ozarks and watching the country and the world go insane, it looks like.
Well, we got a lot to cover. Speaking of insanity, why don't we start with, the election of Trump. I think a lot of people think that voting, and I see this a lot on Twitter, on X, on a lot of the other socials, you got this contingent of people that say voting don't mean anything, it doesn't matter, you're just giving your authority for some man to act in your stead and commit violence against the rest of us. What do you think about that assertion versus the idea of it's a constitutional republic and it's ours if we can keep it, quoted by Benjamin Franklin?
Well, it is indeed a constitutional republic. The democracy side of it, you think of it this way. The constitutional republic gives you guardrails, a certain standard by which you have to stay within. Pure democracy is actually a majoritarian system. There are no guardrails or anything of that nature. And no pure democracy has ever existed. They always degenerate into socialism, communism, and dictatorships. But see, in a pure democracy, if you can get 51 out of 100 people to vote that murder is legal, well, murder is legal. So that's why the Constitutional Republic is so important. It lays out the guidelines, and a lot of foreigners have a hard time understanding our Constitution. A lot of countries' constitutions are more laying it out to the citizens how it's going to be. Our Constitution is actually a restriction on our government's power. It's the polar opposite of most constitutions. That's why people get so confused by it. It's not us asking permission. It's what the government cannot do.
That's why the forces of socialism really, as the New World Order, which you're familiar with, you know, the world government push, WEF, WHO, UN, have all sought to basically destroy the foundational documents of this republic by attacking the First and Second Amendment relentlessly over the past years. This goes way back before Trump, going back to the, 40s, 50s, 60s, even, especially since the National Security Act was signed, some people call it the deep state, but the special services or the intelligence agencies were literally turned against the people. And basically, when they turn inward against the people, you no longer have really true representative government. You're operating with a bit of a shadow over the whole of it. So,
well, here's one for people to consider, and I like to reiterate this to anyone who's thinking about joining federal military service. In 2007, we were brought around what's called the litmus test. Yes, we were asked directly as combat armed soldiers if we would be willing to fire on U.S. citizens if ordered to do so. Then and there was when I knew I wasn't re-enlisting. My time was up. I'm going home.
And how many guys, like in your company or platoon, or felt the same way about that? It was almost an insult.
Well, back then we were disgusted.
Yeah.
But then, since Obama, they made a lot of purges and changes and things, so who knows what's in their heads now. But judging by what we're seeing with states sending their National Guard to Texas and everything, I think the general consensus amongst soldiers, they still believe in posse comitatus doctrine. Not to use your federal military against your citizens. The moment you do, you're a dictatorship.
Right.
No coming back from it.
And how do you think the illegal immigration plays into this? Because a lot of people, especially on the net, on the political right, hugely talk about this possibility that illegal immigrants will be drafted into the military or accepted into the military, given guns, and they won't have the same concerns about firing on American citizens. What are your thoughts on that? It's
That's
a huge
concern that I've heard raised. During normal times, I would think that our elected leaders aren't that stupid to invite people from all nations across the world to include hostile and then induct them into the military. I mean, that's just a Pandora's box of problems right there. There's a lot of different theories, and I've seen voice put to all of them, and this is by political leadership out in the open. Importing voters. They're looking at the way Americans are kind of starting to get tired of the routine with the government, so there's a concept of a replacement of citizenry that would be easier to manipulate or control than us Americans, that U.S. citizens who want to live free and do what we please within reason. Then there's one about putting them in the military. I think that the idea was pitched with the military because it sounds good. Come to the U.S., you want to earn your citizenship expediently, military service. That sounds good if you came here legally. But what if you got a guy who's MS-13, he's really hardcore to the point he's smart enough not to tattoo or mark himself up, he goes through military training, gets combat experience, and now he gets out on the street. That's where you have a problem with just throwing whoever unverified into a military. That's my take on that one.
Right.
So right now, I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing. They're making it up as they go. That's really what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
So really all of the above are possibilities. Population replacement, importing voters, because you notice they didn't seem to have much interest when Bill didn't pass to let illegal immigrants vote.
Right.
But
Well, then you got your entire lamestream media running cover for this whole operation. They're
Yeah.
you know, one thing, people can say what they want about Trump, but one of the things I noticed between 2016 and 2017 was, you know, for 16 years I was telling people in my family that the media was full of shit, that they lied to our faces constantly. You know, once you get 9/11 red-pilled, then there's no going back. But what happened, thankfully, and it was a lot of the people in this area too who came around because of Trump, and their distrust in the media became apparent. And for that, I was thankful. It's sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend expression. But for the first time in 16 years of literally writing music, I wrote songs about how the media lies to our faces. And now all of a sudden people in my family are calling me going, Matt, the media lies about everything. Do you see what they're doing to Trump? So I welcome the good news in whatever form it takes when I hear that people are questioning this mainstream media and a psychological warfare machine, because that was just for the first time in over a decade and a half. I'm like, finally, right?
Well,
So-
yeah, the quickest way to find out the media is full of shit, join the military and go to war. When I'd come home from Battle of Ramadi, I'd see Bush Sr. talking about how it's just a police action. Meanwhile, we're coming home at 20% losses, losing
Wow.
Abrams tanks.
Holy shit.
That's not a police action. When you're still using indirect fire like mortars and airstrikes, that's not police action. You're still in an active war.
Right.
Once it's dwindled down to nothing but small arms fire, then you can call it a police action.
Gotcha.
But just coming home from each tour, and I'd see the news and think about what I just witnessed, and things just didn't match up
Right.
at all.
So we know for sure that Obama left stay-behind networks in the State Department, in the FBI and intelligence, and those were eventually put into full operation in the forms of Antifa and BLM. You mentioned to me some months ago, but it was part of our conversation, you know, one of the things we wanted to cover was how what you were fighting in Iraq, you know, you never thought you'd come home to see the same thing here in terms of like uprisings on the street with the fist. You know, the fist is always a symbol of that left-wing ideology, from fascism to socialism to communism.
Funny is, look at the BLM fist and compare it to the Chinese CCP insignia. It's the same fist.
Yeah, right. It's worldwide, literally.
Yeah. But anyways, this whole Antifa movement, and it's funny, they run around calling everyone fascist. They can't even define what a fascist really is. But the thing is, they're actually the ones pulling the fascist tactics, voter intimidation, things like that. How many people do you think after 2020 riots voted Democrat just to avoid more hassle and trouble? Did anyone even think about that aspect of things?
Right.
I don't think voter fraud's anything new. It's been investigated numerous times before. Now, I think Trump winning the election was an anomaly they didn't account for.
I have to agree.
And
I've never seen the media come out like that.
They got so overboard, it's just ridiculous.
Having worked in it, and to think that was all scripted, that was a reaction. That was not a response.
Yeah, no, it was a knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly,
to,
which
we can't
meant
control this guy.
It was organic rage and anger. It wasn't genetically modified, pre-planned, scripted anger and rage. That was genuine reaction, you know, and that's why it was so obvious to most people.
To be honest, those of us that voted for Trump, we did vote with our fingers crossed behind our backs because we knew he wasn't an experienced politician, but that was the point. He wasn't a politician for a change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he might be a little crude around the edges, but he's saying what we're all thinking. But the difference is we're not the president.
Yeah.
But nobody's perfect. And it just gives the enemy plenty of ammo to throw at him and slander him. But, I mean, like I said, he's the first president in God knows how long that hasn't got us in any new wars. He's the first one to get both the Islamic State and Israelis to sit down in the Abraham Accord and even talk about peace.
Right.
So he exceeded my expectations even in just getting outside of the normal routine. Because, see, it's not as easy as just left or right. You got to remember Bush Jr. and the Republican Party with their neat little Patriot Act.
Yeah, the neocons.
Which more or less made the Bill of Rights more of a suggestion than an actual set of rules.
What did Bush say, his famous quote, "It's just a goddamn piece of paper"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a piece of paper that leads to everyone being on paper. So,
Good way to put it.
well, you figure this, even if it was with good intentions, it brought a lot of revenue in, just like at a lot of other industries. And when the war on terror started to spool down, they're not going to decommission these things. They're just going to turn it to other.
Yeah, like airport
Like
body
on their own
detectors and making you take your shoes off. I think a lot of that's just psychological.
Right.
You know?
That's like people talking about microchipping. I just laugh. I'm like, why? You carry a cell phone around
Yeah,
with you
you're
everywhere.
already chipped. It's called the fucking cell phone, right?
Yeah.
But,
I remember when a phone used to be attached to a wall and you remembered numbers hard way. Now I can't even hardly tell you my wife's number without picking up my phone.
right.
But,
Well, what do you think of some of these latest world actions, particularly Ukraine? I mean, it's another hot button topic. The political right, sort of 6 months ago in October, maybe 7, when all this shit broke out, you saw all these really promising people on the right suddenly go pro-Israel and pro-war, bomb Hamas, blow up the Palestinians. We don't care how much. You know, guys like Lindsey Graham, who is pro-war no matter what.
it's easy for politicians to instigate wars because they don't have to go fight them.
Yeah.
Go out and fight a war and you'll be more reserved about it. First of all, I don't know how Ukraine suddenly becomes such a hot button issue. Fighting between the Soviet Union, Donbass region is nothing new. It's gone on forever. In fact, how quick the American people forget.
Right.
It wasn't maybe 4 years ago when Ukrainian rebels shot down some Malaysian flight. And then when you look at the Israel-Palestinian conflict, we got the left sending money over directly to Iran, which is trickling right on down into Hamas and everything else. Saudi Arabia may have joined the UN. I don't know if they're still involved or funding it or not. But I'd be leery of it. There's a lot of money there.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as that one goes, oddly enough, we're funding both sides of the war.
Yeah.
We're sending aid to Iran. We're sending aid to Israel.
Yeah.
I don't know how long our politicians think they can keep doing this before it comes back and bites us in the ass.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it needs to stop, that's for sure.
What's interesting to me is like the Azov battalion in Ukraine is primarily Nazi. And they even have Nazi tattoos. They're like MS-13, only a Ukrainian version.
Eastern Bloc version.
Who salute the Nazi flag and are leftover stay-behinds from Hitler in the war against Russia back in, the 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
But we're funding them, and then at the same time we're funding Jews who got killed by Nazis in Israel. It just seems like, does anybody catch on to that little nuance?
I wouldn't concern myself with anything related to Nazis modern day. Any little fickle Nazi movement you see today isn't sizable enough to be a real threat.
Right.
They're just, I don't know, leftover sycophants or such. What cracks me up is if you actually looked into your history, a lot of these guys with SS tattoos and, criminal records, and they call themselves Nazis. If they think back and knew their history, during the Gypsies and Vagabond Act, Hitler, they were the first ones he got rid of, the troublemakers in society.
Mm-hmm.
They either had them sterilized, but basically, yeah. They're just running around trying to toot a horn, getting attention. Actually, I pretty much figured racism had died off on its own because everyone left it alone. But
That's
it makes for
interesting.
good politics, I guess, because just from 2020 till now, everyone hates each other again.
Yeah, and then Ferguson. But
Yeah.
what's interesting about it all, and maybe we can get into this a little bit, is that, like you said, these SS, this let's call it white supremacy, because that's the label they use to say that that's the most dangerous threat in America, when I don't know any neo-Nazis. I mean, and you would think in a rural area we'd at least know one. Of all the fucking guys we know, we would at least know one dude who's like, I can't stand, people of color or this or that.
I ran into one on the river, and I don't know if he was local or from out of town, and he come up trying to talk to me. I guess he thought 'cause I'm clean shaven and kept my head shaved that I was down with all that or something, and I made quite the mockery of him. I was like, in fact, I served with the 101st. We was notorious for busting you guys' balls back in the day.
Yeah.
I even told him I know a tattoo artist if he wanted to get some of that trash covered up. Hitler tattoo on his neck, just man. Seriously, and he's all half cross-eyed. And it's like,
So what do you think?
that people like that, they're not any kind of threat, really. They're idiots. They're drug addicts.
What do you think though about the intelligence apparatus saying that that's the number? They all say it in their press conferences. That's the number one threat in the United States. What are they saying that, and why do they keep repeating that rhetoric? What are they hoping to get the American public to believe, that maybe when they carry out a false flag, it's just easier to blame white supremacy rather than
pre-setting a stage for a future false flag event? So. I mean, look at some of the rhetoric coming out of the left. White people are evil. White people need to be dealt with. Hell, you even
every damn day, every minute.
You even hear some of these going so radical as to call for genocide of white people.
Right. Professors of universities, right?
Yeah, that. And then you got these little Hamas sympathizers coming out of universities. They don't even understand the world yet.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think they're just setting up a preemptive narrative.
So that brings me to...
Because you can only push and push so much, and then eventually someone will push back. And that leads me to talking where it's almost like both sides are at a state of provocation, trying to get the other side to move first so they can point and scream bad guy. Right. So don't get over eager and jump up and become part of the problem.
Right, because once you go physical, there's no going back.
You don't turn back from that. No,
right. And so part of what we want to cover today is not only a little bit of ballistics, but, proper gun handling, targeting, things like that are common sense, stuff you see all over YouTube. You watch any of the videos from Smith & Wesson or HK. There's all kinds of excellent training videos out there you guys can check out. And we're going to talk a little bit about, what are our favorite firearms, things like that. But just to cover the geopolitical side of this, and this is Ben Berquam, this is Steve Bannon. Mm-hmm. But they talk a lot, and his boogeyman is, of course, the Chinese, and they always come back and harken back to there's 300 Chinese crossing the border a day. They're military-age males. And then you have 125 plus food plants that have burned down across the United States. There's some suggestion that maybe there's Chinese coordination. Maybe it's military that's coming across. You look at, and this is just speculation. This is not necessarily my opinion. It's what I'm hearing on the right-leaning podcast. But
knowing what I know about national security, before all this nonsense broke out in 2020, I used to only smoke about 3 cigarettes a day. I think I'm already going on my third one. If that tells you how nervous it's got me,
right?
Because you don't know which direction it's going to come from at this point. I mean, we appear to have a government that's gone completely just off the rails.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, it's gone completely rogue.
And everybody knows it, and it's not
Trust
a crime to state what you
the
notice.
Next sentence, you're going to tell me there's 37 genders. Like, sorry, I trust science. I just don't trust your science.
Right.
You can go ahead and tuck that shit back in.
Yeah. Exactly. So this leads us anyways. There's a million possibilities. Again, the speculation. What is the threat? Why did they close military bases in the early 2000s all the way, What are those military bases housing now? Is it the Chinese CCP? What is it? What is all these train derailments? What are all these, they say half the damn cattle industry is affected now because of the fires in Texas. Who lit the fires? all these questions, but what we're going to do today is hopefully alleviate some of the fears and the pressures that might be associated, especially if you're heavy into that kind of study and research. Which always remember, folks, you got to take a breath, take a walk through the woods, reconnect with nature, get your head right, relax, unwind from the news. Chris likes to say, don't look at the screen too much because it'll fuck up your targeting practice. You get that screen vision.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to give you tips and tricks on how to improve some of your, fundamental acumen when it comes to handling a firearm and how do you increase your targeting, your handling of that arm, and just some general overall awareness, situational awareness.
Yeah, ironically, I'll be saying it on a podcast, but try not to waste too much of your time with electronics. It's wasted energy and you're burning up your eyesight, especially on a little cell phone. You're stigmatizing your eyes, and if you're a marksman, you know how bad news that is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, minimize electronics. Also remember, one of the first things to go will be internet and power, so you want to have hard copy books and hard copy knowledge to go by.
Right.
Maps of your local area, things that, but we'll cover all that.
Cool.
I got quite a bit of knowledge to spew out there.
Yeah.
So we can go poke some holes in some things for a bit.
Sounds good to me.
Alright, we're starting here with an H&K MR556. This is just a good general layout for an AR-15. You have a foregrip, and you're going to have your flashlight so you can operate your light off of your thumb.
That's
Then
something I didn't even think about.
You don't have to play games with all these wires and triggers and all this other nonsense.
What's the advantage? Because what I did for show was put mine at the front of the damn thing, and
because when I bring up my front sight, when I hit the light, it lights up my front sight post, so I can see my front sight post visibly at night as well.
And you don't have to reach.
No.
To the
I choose
front
a
to
larger
turn your light on.
handguard because it almost works as a shield for my magazine. Some people don't like that much handguard up front. You can use a smaller one, but like I said, this one's just right because it shields my magazine, cutting through brush and things like that. Another one, when mounting an optic, you always mount your optic onto the upper receiver. Never put it on the handguard. That's two separate parts.
Right.
Your barrel is anchored to your upper receiver. It does not touch the handguard. That is why you always mount your optics on your upper receiver, because that's what's tied to your barrel.
Gotcha.
So it can't shift. Now what I'll be shooting today is I'm shooting open sights, and I'm using a red dot to co-witness my sights.
Gotcha.
If you don't know what co-witnessing is, we can go over it. You might have a camera that can capture it, you might not. If not, I would recommend looking it up, because you got 2 verifications before you send your shot, and then you should know that it's going to be on target. Couple down. Alright, had a little trouble finding the close range, and I definitely forgot my earplugs.
Yeah.
And I just went empty. Always turn your mags so you'll have your smooth reload coming out of the, send it forward. Had to adjust something on my sights.
Right on.
So take one was a bit of a scratch. All right. So that's running open sights, co-witnessing. Thing is, you don't want to be dependent on optics. And another one I didn't bring up earlier is when you choose an optic, you want to look for something that'll charge itself. So batteries ain't so much an issue over time. Now, I'm taking this out. What do you got there, Matt?
So this is a M&P AR-15 Sport 1 model. I'm a lefty, so everything's fucking backwards for me.
Left to right, eh?
Yeah, it's all that fucking coffee, bro.
Yeah. Looks like a high hit. Record. We are recording. Left to right again, or where are you going?
Left to right.
There you go. There you go. Pull it into you.
All right, so we just emptied about, what, 6 of these each?
Something like that, I don't know, a few hundred rounds.
Give us some pointers. I know we did a little bit of talking on stance.
Oh, basically just with pointers. There's a degree of physical fitness to firing a firearm, as you'd seen, especially firing from a standing position. If you continue to hold your firearm up there, you're gonna start getting shaky. So unless you plan on shooting from a rested position all the time, which isn't nominal, you're gonna have to have some degree of physical shape.
That's why you mentioned push-ups in the armed services, because that builds the core, which is what your stability and everything comes from the core.
One of the reasons push-ups are popular in the military is it builds up those shoulder muscles, and the same muscle groups you're gonna use to support a heavier firearm for a prolonged period.
Gotcha.
Like I'll just take these few rounds here while standing without leaning on a table.
Nice group.
So, and I'm a big advocate. Always learn your iron sights, because those will never fail you.
Right.
Yeah, no, I need to get rid of these basic training rolls and tape and cut this vest down. Anyway, so your iron sights are always going to be your main go-to. Optics are just a bonus. You really got to learn your iron sights, though, if you're going to make it, if things go tits up.
Batteries die, shit gets wet in the field.
Yep, batteries
And
die,
suddenly
things
your
get
scope
wet,
goes out.
scopes get dinged, scratched, broken. Iron sights remain permanent. And as I showed you with an iron sight, you can put a red dot on and zero it to your iron sights. It's just really simple.
Gotcha.
And as I'd mentioned, when I fire, I co-witness my sights. I'm using both iron sights and red dots simultaneously, like I showed you how to do.
Yep.
As far as your footing and etiquette, we covered that, got you a more stable stance.
Which is, again, more to the front because you want to protect your vitals.
You want to go more to the front.
You don't want to put your vitals, especially with the vest or anything else on,
Well, that's if you're
facing
running
in.
plates.
Right.
If you're running plates.
If you're running plates, correct.
All right. As for me, I would rather have the mobility over the plates.
Right.
So plates are a little bit better if you have more of a larger military force coming in. You can move heavier, you're slower, but
Right.
what are you going to do about it? And what I found in combat, there comes a point where all the plates and all the extra weight becomes a hindrance. It's just not feasible. In a situation like this, where if things were to break down, fall apart, mobility would be your best friend.
Yeah.
Not having your range or your speed reduced by a lot of extra weight you're not going to use.
Right.
Besides, if you're going up against a larger force, it'll be hit and run. You're not going to engage and sit and slug it toe-to-toe to larger force. You're just
Right.
going to hit and you're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But that's the basic concept with that, and what he was talking about, squaring off for your vitals. That's if running a vest. But it's really a matter of finding what's comfortable for you.
Gotcha.
Now, squaring off even without a vest gives you a better clean through and through. Should you get hit, whereas opposed to turning sideways, it's going to go through a lot more before it makes its way out.
Gotcha.
But the goal is to not get shot.
You
So-
know that, kids? Don't try this at home.
Well, that and just put on that one, they do need to start teaching basic gun safety to kids in
Yeah.
school. Like when we went to school, hunter education, we got our hunter, I think it was junior high. It was part of a PE requirement. Your parents signed off on it, and you went through gun safety and hunter education. We had our hunting and fishing license as a PE project.
Yeah, that's one thing they phased out in city and county schools
Yeah.
in St. Louis. Because when I went, we had no such thing. My dad had to teach me with a BB gun.
Well, it's just like
But out
this.
here in the rural areas, I think they still do.
When I went to school, it was a
Some
mandatory
guns.
requirement that you pass civics or you couldn't graduate, even if you were a straight A student.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, how can you wander into a voting booth if you don't know what it means to be a U.S. citizen? And look at the mess it's created.
Right.
People going and voting don't even know what their country is.
right.
Why would you think gun control or firearms be any different? You quit teaching gun. If it's a right, it needs to be taught. Now it's up to an adult if they want to teach their teenager to use more advanced things like this. But yeah, there's a lot more to it than just owning a weapon. And just because you have a gun don't mean you know how to use it. Like you don't just hand someone a samurai sword and they're not instantly a samurai.
Right.
So it is still a weapon. It still requires technique and skill to use. Kind of like you'd seen, iron sights can be quite tricky. I don't want anything but iron sights until past 300 yards. But yeah, everyone gets their own taste. But like I said, I strongly encourage get used to your iron sights.
Yeah.
So
Had a firearms instructor for concealed carry in Virginia when I bought one of my weapons. He said, what are the three most important things you have to be ready to do when you buy a firearm, if you own a firearm? And the third one was not what I expected, but I said, basically, be ready to use it. And he said, that's close. He goes, I'll accept that answer, but the answer I'm looking for is you need to be ready to kill somebody. That's really the ultimate, third thing of owning a firearm that you have to be ready for. Because that's what it's for. In home defense, you have to be ready for that.
And here's one that
possibility.
actually does bug me that I can agree with. If someone was to break into your home, you have to shoot to kill. You could go for a gut shot that's survivable, and then they turn around and sue you. They really need to think about setting a law that if it's considered a justified shooting, there is no lawsuit attached.
Yeah.
I mean, you break into someone's home, if you kneecap someone as opposed to center, mass, chest, or headshot, they should be thanking you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my own personal opinion on it. Really? A pistol at 75 yards? Left.
Nice.
By the way, you're not even supposed to be able to shoot a pistol this far.
Right. good.
Take all the basic fundamentals you were just taught and put them to use. There you go. Look at that. There you go. Don't hold it too long. There we go. Nice. A lot more dangerous than we started today.
All right, final round with the ARs, the H&K.
Open sight. Yeah, I started shaking a minute.
Well, let's get another cup of coffee and then try some pistols.
Yeah, indeed.
See how we
That's
can
pretty good. Three out
keep
of
our hands stable after that.
3 out of 6. Fucking out that far. That's not bad.
Yep.
If you don't know what tannerite is, it's a 2-part binary explosive. You need 1,100 feet per second to set it off. Flame, electric, nothing else will charge it. It's basically ammonium nitrate. You dump this aluminum-based powder into it. You shake it up to activate it. And when it gets hit at supersonic speeds, it creates a chemical reaction. You get a big boom. Fun to play with, good for removing stumps.
Yeah, I actually got a couple stumps.
Oh, well, we'll grab some of this and remove it the fun way. That wasn't as bad as we thought it'd be. But basically, if you're gonna blow something up with tannerite, think about what's gonna come off of it.
Right.
Like vehicles. If you're gonna blow up a vehicle, stand at 45 degrees to it, because the doors are gonna be the first thing to fly off, coming off you at the side. If you stand in front of it, could be the hood. If you're at 45 degrees, you're less likely. Same thing with refrigerators and microwaves. Turn the door away from you, because the door and the hinge is always the weakest link. It's going to go flying more so than any other part of what you're shooting at. Good God, is that still dust coming over from that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember the refrigerator video? I'll run it in the background.
Yeah.
Holy shit! You got your safety on?
How was that, lad?
Whoa! That fucking door was coming right for you, dude. I told you got me behind something. Woo!
Alright, next we're going to cover a good sidearm. I myself, I choose a 6-hour P220. Might be a little heavy for some people's pocketbooks. I also like shooting 45. I like listening to people, oh, what's with the 45? The reason I like the 45, for one, I can shoot, so I don't need 14 rounds in a magazine. But a big part is it's a heavy round with a slow velocity. So therefore, if you get a good center hit on your target, it minimizes its penetration. It's not likely to go as far when it goes through a target, if it goes through the target. The fact that it seldom, or that it frequently doesn't exit, means it transfers 100% of the kinetic energy into the target. But it's more of a collateral damage matter. When you're in a self-defense situation, there may be people and bystanders standing around. Well, a 9mm has more penetration than a 45 because it's narrow diameter and high velocity. But it'll cut right through your target and possibly hit bystanders. That's a problem, self-defense or not. Every time you fire a round, you need to remember your freedom, your wallet, and a lawyer is attached to that bullet every time you send it. Just 3 things to keep in mind anytime you pull a trigger. Now, we'll get into a P220, and the reason I prefer hammer over striker fire. The P220, it does not have a safety on it. It's meant just entirely, it's just not a beginner's gun. Be proper pistol. Stand here holding expensive, call it a gun. Anyway, so I generally carry with one in the chamber. You can see we got none now. Okay, decocking lever here so I don't have to play games with the trigger and the hammer. Now, I generally carry with one in the chamber and with the hammer forward, so it's almost impossible for me to have a misfire with one in the chamber. Whereas a striker fire pistol, if you got one in the chamber, it's the same as having the hammer back too, which is a little too ready to go off for me. And as long as it's a double action, well, if it's quick, damn, that's pretty nice. You don't have to worry about cocking it.
Right.
It's cocked after the first round. So anyways, move on to a pistol.
Yeah, I want to ask you, in terms of posture, let's look at a posture like for home defense. What do you recommend posture-wise? You might need to step out a little bit.
Home defense, there's many different postures. Some
There's a lot of people, you remember the gangsta videos,
right?
How they hold their guns, and they ain't gonna hit shit with that, okay?
Well,
that's a fallacy.
You can hit with targets sideways, but up close, but it's not really your preferred method.
10,000 rounds of practice.
Right,
But
takes a
just
lot of practice.
What the movies show you in Hollywood, all that gangster bullshit, that ain't gonna fly, guys.
It's not gonna happen.
Nope.
Okay, there's some different postures. Some prefer more of a punch type posture where you're gonna punch in the direction you shoot. All right, some people prefer a bladed posture where again, and now me in particular, I'll take my left hand, rest it into my ribs. When I fire, my left hand works more like a shooting table, and my right hand, I just let the pistol fly.
Okay.
So when it comes back down, I can feel in my hand when it's right back in the right position. Makes for faster follow-up shots.
Gotcha.
So I got one steady hand, and one hand's pretty much running free. So, and you bring that elbow in some, like showed you with the rifle, to get some stability while in a standing position.
Right, and this would of course be in reverse for left-handed, just mirror it.
All right, same thing, just mirrored for left hand.
Exactly.
So I'll go with the bladed posture. Put a couple of them in the same hole there. Empty. All right.
Nice grouping.
Thank you. I mean, we are point blank, but yeah. Well, you caught that 357 from 50 yards. I can't believe I just turned around and snapped that one off just at a glance.
That was pretty damn on the money.
And that was using the double action, so I had all that extra trigger squeeze.
Right.
Those of y'all who don't know, a double action pistol, it's tied into the hammer. You got to really squeeze the trigger to cock the hammer back. But then once it fires, your hammer will be cocked. And then you just got a single little drop.
Yep.
Look at that 6 hour sweetness, just enough little
All right, we'll give this MP45 a go.
All right. 14.
Okay, so
What you got here?
M&P 45
Watch that
M2.0 compact, good for concealed carry. This is a 10 round clip. I got 14 round clips as well that I put the hollow points in. These are target bullets, so here we go.
Center mass or head?
I'm going for the shoulder line along across the neck.
Okay.
Put 4 in there. Now I'm going to go for the abdomen. There's number 8, which is second to the last ring.
Nut shot.
All right. Are we going to take it up?
Your grouping's fine with your pistol rifle.
So the first group was shoulder, neck. Well, I'll just say in line with the neck.
Ah, your
Zoom
grouping's
out
fine.
here. There we go.
You definitely don't want to be this guy.
Right.
See, like me, I threw one left down here when I shot.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It happens.
So I was the one in the bottom of the 9, and then 4, 5, 1 in the 7, and then 4 in the 8.
And your grouping's good. A mistake a lot of people will make, if you habitually shoot left, I'll wager you have your trigger. Is that on record?
Yeah.
I'll wager that you have your trigger in the nook of your finger. If you have the trigger in the nook of your finger, it is mechanically impossible to squeeze a trigger without pulling it left. Always put the trigger right there in the meat.
Right on the fingertip.
Right in the meat. That way you squeeze, not pull off to the left when you squeeze.
And the meat is really a good
It's a
practice
buffer.
for every kind of firearm.
Yes.
Plant it in the meat of your leg and a prone.
Anything soft, because say for
Anything
example, if
soft.
you catch my knee here, if I try to shoot from kneeling and I got my elbow on my knee, it wants to roll.
Right.
Or if I put it in the meat of my thigh, it's seated more comfortably. I got to try to roll it.
Gotcha.
And then it don't want to roll on you so much. And if you're at an angle, your forearm gets more contact, the better. Basically, more contact, the better.
Gotcha.
So,
Cool.
this is a Tavor TS-12 made by Israeli Weapon Industries. I would give you a tutorial through it, but it's far from a standard shotgun, so if you own one, you know how to use one. If you don't, you don't. This is more of a to hell with everything in that whole general direction kind of weapon. Clangers. So what you got, the reason I don't like your box fed is a lot of your magazine fed, like your AA-12s, they get a lot of jamming, and that's because of this lip. Unless they redesign a shotgun shell that's either smooth or it has a recessed lip, but like a rifle cartridge. That's why I prefer this with the Tavor, because it remains as a tube fed, and you can just speed load as you go. So if I'm in the process of speed loading, I hold this front grip like this. As I'm loading, if a target comes along, I can send a shot off while continuing to load. Also it's bulky and awkward at first till you get used to it, but it's good for coming around corners when you're inside. And if you're going to be shooting 3-inch mags, you're going to need something to hold on to on the front. So if you reach around a corner like this, it's not flying completely out your hands. This would be more for clearing buildings, hallways, alleyways, a riot breaker.
Right.
So that's that.
Okay, target rundown. Debrief us, Chris.
Well, yeah, there's not a whole lot left to see. Running 3-inch mags, a 15 pellet double-aught buck from about 15 yards away, but yeah, Well, I would say he's having a bad day. He's just not having a day at all.
He ain't got no heart.
Nah, he ain't got no heart. He can't stand up
That's
to
what
it.
happens to people that break into other people's homes and they ain't got no heart, right?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. I'll mention a lot of people. They talk about wanting to use slugs in a shotgun. If you need that kind of firepower, just use a rifle. Thing is with a shotgun, for me, I think about up close and stopping power. If I was going to use a solid projectile, I'd use a rifle or a handgun. Now a slug, sure, they're pretty heavy, but generally you get a 1 ounce slug, 1.5 ounce slug at the most. This is actually 2 ounces of buckshot per load. So if you think of it in stopping power, you got a slug that's going to hit someone central, stop.
Center mass.
Or you got a hand-sized spread with 2 ounces of lead saying stop. Which one going to stop you more?
Yeah.
The hand-sized spread hitting you all at once.
Right.
Let alone that it's going to hit multiple things. So, yeah, pretty much it don't matter what you're high on. A 3-inch mag 15 pellet double aught, that'll put you down. We'll tear your house up though. Be cheaper to just let them steal some things, but that's not the point.
Okay, folks, so our last round here will be about 10 yards off, and we have 2 sticky back targets. This we may do 5 and 5. You know, this will be 25 yards versus 10 yards. I'm going to ask you about real quickly sighting for handguns. A lot of people, myself included, guys I've shot with out here in particular, they're kind of all over till they get to know their handgun. Your rear sight versus your striker point. How do you aim? What's the best advice you can give for the rear sight, front sight lineups? And, you know, just give us your rundown on that.
I see a lot of people with sidearms, they want to put clunky red dots and all this junk on them. A sidearm should be simple. It should be your last go-to. And again, it brings me back to lecturing about learn how to use your iron sights. Don't be dependent on all these optics.
Right.
I can't speak for all handguns. An example on this Sig Sauer. I don't know how well the camera can tell. These rear dots are actually a wee bit smaller. These rear tritium sights are a wee bit smaller than the front. But when you actually look down them, they look like they're an equal size because these are closer and that one's farther. So basically, if I was to fire this in the dead of night, I would line up the 3 dots. The round will strike exactly where the green dot is in the center.
Gotcha.
And that would be if I was to be firing at night. Now, other than that, with pistol etiquette, you don't have 2 hands going out long. So a pistol is real easy to pull to the side or up and down. Really, if you can master a pistol, it makes a rifle look simple.
Right.
When I was a kid, I started out on a pistol, so when I got into rifles, it was simple. I do recommend, though, for starters, use a rifle because it's easier to accidentally shoot yourself with a handgun than with a long gun.
Right.
Maybe my parents were trying to get rid of me, who knows. But anyway, but yeah, I was on the Gasconade shooting leaves coming down the stream with a 22 when I was about, what, 7, 8 years old.
22 is a great rifle to start kids out on.
Well, it was a 22 Ruger pistol.
Oh, well,
So that's why I said I think my parents might have been trying to get rid of me, give me a pistol right off the bat for a rifle.
Well, even a 22 pistol, you're not going to have that kick.
Right.
I just seen a video recently where they had a guy shooting a 44 mag, and he shot, and his hand literally did this and pointed right at his head. So the advice was only put 1 round in a high caliber weapon, because if you don't know how to handle it, and that sucker comes back, the second round's going in your forehead.
Well, what can happen is you'll basically bump fire your pistol.
Right.
Because if you fire and the pistol gets away from you, your first response, being unexperienced, is to squeeze hold of it, but you're going to squeeze with all fingers, to include your trigger finger, which could lead to, I'm not going to point my gun at my own head, but as it comes back to that second shot. You'll see a lot of pictures of it.
Right.
So if you're going to hand a ridiculous caliber to someone because you think it's funny to watch it knock them on their ass, do only load one, even if it's a revolver.
One round.
But frankly, that's just kind of not funny. People get wrists broke, nice lumps on their forehead.
Right.
See plenty of it where they hand a Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum to a pretty girl. What are you trying to do? Scar her face up?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, don't be an idiot.
Yeah, that's a firearm. I mean, it's a
Right.
toy, but it's not a toy.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
common sense, responsibility. Some things are funny. Someone getting hurt with a firearm's never funny,
Right.
even if it's thumping themselves in the head with it.
Exactly.
That's
How
a
much
close call.
emphasis did the military put on safety when you did gun training?
Oh, there was a lot in the beginning. Truth be told, 11 Bravos, you get used to getting flagged by firearms all the time. I have some bad firearm safety habits from my time in the infantry, but when everyone's got rifles everywhere, there's always a rifle pointing at someone somehow.
Right.
So you just get accustomed to it and you try to mitigate it much as you can, but you learn to trust each other and trust each other's proficiency with the firearm.
As a unit or a squad. Yeah.
So you work
Always
together as a
safety,
team.
Obviously, keep the barrel pointed toward the ground, such and such.
Yeah, your basic safeties.
Well, you ready to punch a couple more holes?
Yeah, punch a couple more.
Alrighty.
The Sig Sauer, typically it comes with your 8-round mag, but so I got my extra is just a extended mag in case I got to be extra hateful because I'm into my second magazine, so apparently things aren't going well.
Right.
I guess I might as well just, that's exploding that target. Are those shell casings or is that chunk of lead flying off? Anyway.
And now we're at about 25 yards. Let's say.
Shit, man, that last one. And that's that.
Alright, good shooting.
45 is a little more difficult to shoot at range. It's got the ballistics of a musket ball, but that's where it gets that knockdown. It has the same ballistics as a musket ball.
Okay.
And damn, a 45 really hits that non-shooting ear.
Now, some guys, when they shoot, they'll say ears on, right?
Yeah.
Meaning get your ear protection on. But these guys, these vet buddies of mine, man, they're so tempered, like a fine steel. They don't worry about the ear shit, and who can blame them?
Well, what it is,
but
the damage is already done
yeah,
to the max extent
Right.
at this point.
yeah. But
I
you
don't
can
even
hear
hardly
surprisingly
notice.
Well, I don't have to say nothing twice or yell at you about shit. So.
What it turns into from the high percussion, explosives, things like that, you get tinnitus. It's a permanent ringing of the ears.
Right.
So as long as it's a lower tone, I don't have a problem hearing it. As the pitch gets higher and higher, like I have a hard time hearing crickets at night. I have to ask people, are crickets chirping or
Higher
is that mine?
frequency stuff.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, my higher frequency hearing is already non-existent.
Gotcha.
There's not much damage left to be done.
Right.
So I don't advise not shooting without earpieces on.
Yeah.
If you're a grunt, you already know what I'm talking about. If the damage is done, it's already done.
Yeah.
Enjoy shooting to its fullest, to include the eardrum pounding.
Yeah.
All right, we got Matt Presti here. He's gonna give it a shot with a trophy pistol. That is a 1965 Smith & Wesson, model 27. As you can see, I only shoot it on occasions. Sentimental to me, my own reasons. It don't even got the full striping on it yet, but anyway, that's bragging about the pistol. It's got the 8-inch pin barrel, which I don't know why Smith & Wesson quit pinning the barrel because they lost their accuracy when they did that. And rip away with it, Matt. That is a match trigger. If you thought you knew what a hair trigger was before, you're about to get it redefined for you. Pull it back. Go ahead, pull it back. First shot was dead on. Easy. There you go. Pistol's so fine, almost shoots itself, don't it?
Haha.
I seen that jump.
Yeah, I was jumping. But yeah, pulling back versus cocking and shooting. The cock and shoot is a much smoother process.
You don't get the match grade trigger when you use the double.
Right.
So
jerking that pistol, again, you got to be on the meat of the finger and learn to squeeze. That's one thing I got a lot of trouble with over the years, is learning to squeeze versus pulling.
And see, I'll be more comfortable doing it with my 45 than with a trophy pistol.
Yeah.
That's it. Easy. Easy and squeeze. Right.
I don't think I'm going to put that round in there.
45 takes a bit of mastery.
Yeah.
You'll get it with practice. Yeah, hell, I just went over it twice.
All right, guys. That's it for the range. Now we're going to do a little debrief and just talk over a few things while we're reloading some rounds here. So Chris, you want to start the wrap up or the debrief and go over anything that I did that I could do better besides hit the fucking target?
Not really. You made a drastic amount of improvement today alone from at the beginning when you had a hard time hitting to...
That was rifle stance because, you know, again, I should have had more of a frontal position than sideways, which, you know...
Well, and it's as I pointed out, just because it's a gun, just because you got a firearm in your hands doesn't make you qualified to be a soldier.
Right.
Just like any other weapon, you hand a samurai sword to someone doesn't make them a samurai.
Right.
But yeah, there's actually a skill to using firearms and some of those quick reactions, the pivot, things like that. Where to base, where you want to plant your foot and put the base for your weight.
Right.
And turn it around. But yeah, we shot until our arms started shaking from holding up the rifles. And that brings into point about physical conditioning as well. It's, you know, playing with firearms ain't just as simple as flicking a trigger.
Sure.
Thing gets heavy after a while.
Right.
Other than that, though, yeah, I would just keep driving it home to practice with some iron sights. So that way you got that to fall back on. Scope's good at 300 yards and out. You should be center mass proficient at 300 yards. For good measure, though, with iron sights.
Right.
But yeah, there's really not a whole bunch to recap on with that. Even I myself, I've had some better showings with my shooting.
We're good.
So I do need to use my 45 a little bit more. But
How many rounds would you say we shot today?
oh, if I had to guess, about 400 maybe.
Uh-huh. So in terms of equivalency, in terms of dollars, what was the cost of our shoot, would you say?
Probably about 250 bucks.
250 bucks. All right. Plus that includes your shotgun, which are...
Yeah, when you start adding up the specialized 12 gauge loads and those 357 rounds are actually, those are real pricey.
Right.
So.
And that actually, yeah, once the 357 and then...
Oh, and in case people don't know, it's not just a Hollywood thing. When you load any magazine, make sure your rounds seat to the rear for uniform feeding. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Did you have custom rounds for the shotgun? What is the model of the shotgun again? Israeli made.
That is a Tavor TS12.
Tavor. Did you have special rounds for the Tavor at all?
Yes, the blue ones. The heavy loads with the 15 pellets actually a federal. It's meant for big game.
Okay.
And then the specialized rounds, those were police loads with the 2 3/4 inch, and it had a 12 pellet load and a 2 3/4 inch, which pretty stout. But yeah, so you're going between a 1.5 ounce load and a 2 ounce load between that 3 inch and that 2 3/4.
Okay.
So more bang for your buck actually out of those short police rounds. But I'd rather open up with the heavy game loads if my life depends on it, and then when I rotate cylinders, I go to a smaller load to mop up anything I have to. But I can't imagine what kind of pickle you'd be in to empty that thing out.
Well, yeah, let's hope it never comes to that, right? Isn't that the point of the firearms training? Now, training and repetition, if you're going to become a good guitar player, if you're going to become a good swordsman, if you're going to become a good carpenter, it all comes down to one word: woodshedding. Training, 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 training. So,
Training and muscle memory. A very important thing to be able to do is to take your firearm from a relaxed position to your sighted position, just almost with muscle memory.
okay,
It should be very little thought. It should almost be a reflex.
gotcha.
So that's a big one, because unless you're walking around in a ready to shoot position, scaring the hell out of everybody, that's the position you'll find yourself in when confronted.
Yeah, especially in situations like you hear these mall shooters or people open up fire in a church, and you're a concealed carry. You got to have that ability. That muscle memory is going to be critical at times like that. A quick pull, do your business, reholster, and then assess the damage. All right. Well, any final thoughts? Tips, tricks that you want to share? I'm sure we could make a hell of a field day out of another,
Oh, get all of us lined up.
another date at the range,
Yeah.
if you will.
You get all of us lined up. You got all different kinds of vets. I was an expert marksman and pig gunner. There's just a lot of different weapon systems. Your 11 Bravos tend to qualify in all of them.
Yep.
Then you got snipers who prefer their scopes and their 1K shooting. I can do that too, but my forte was, well, more or less kicking indoors, up close and personal.
Well, you were decorated too, right?
Oh yeah.
What can you share some of that? As far as
Not a lot, but
what was your decoration, in other words?
Well, on my DD-214, it just has multiple ARCOMs. Be honest, I wasn't really a metal chaser. I know I got wavered in as an E4 a year and a half in. So I went up the ranks fast. I was starting on my 4th row of ribbons. Be honest, half of them I don't even know what the shit they were.
Right.
I was just there for the fight, and
Yeah.
I was pissed off about the trade centers and such. So,
Right.
um,
And knowing what you know now, what would you recommend to somebody who's considering military service?
knowing what I know right now, I wouldn't recommend it. Now, right now, your best bet would be just to, well, it's like this. Okay, technically, there's 3 categories of military service. And this was taught in old school civics. They quit teaching it. But it should be known. Let me set this aside. Now, you've got 3 actual levels of military. You have federal military. Federal military is obvious, like 101st Airborne, 82nd, your military. Then you got states militia, which is your National Guard. Then your 3rd category, they don't like to remind you of, is unregulated militia. That is every able-bodied man who can wield a rifle has an obligation to defend their country.
Yeah.
Now, the 3rd one, that don't mean grab a bunch of guys and get a bunch of firepower together, because all you've done then is created a gang. So you can't self-entitle yourself as a militia. An example, we see it happening with Texas right now.
Yeah, we wanted to cover this.
You need to be sanctioned by a governor, your local sheriff deputizing you, things like that. You can't just up and self-entitle yourself to be a Minuteman and go fighting for your country.
Right.
You just wind up attacking your country.
Yeah, and how many of those have been infiltrated by federal agents and then, you know,
I've had these militia groups approach me ever since I got out of the military.
you're just putting a target on your back.
Yeah,
really,
you're putting
honestly.
a target on your back. You're not doing proper procedure. You haven't been sanctioned by your governor or local commissioner even. And believe me, this is why local elections are important. Because such as your sheriffs, your governors, and et cetera. Like
Dude, it means
what's going on
everything
right
to
now.
have the right sheriff in office. If you got an unconstitutional sheriff, you're fucked.
Right.
And
It
the
doesn't-
rights that we've been afforded because we recognize those rights
It
as
doesn't
rights.
matter what you agree to or what you don't agree to. And the thing is, all right, so people see a civilian owning firearms like this. Well, some may say, well, he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing with them. But like I said, you got to know what you're doing with a firearm. Just 'cause you got a firearm don't make you a marksman. That could make you a liability.
Right. And one thing I will say is I got my Expert Marksman Award when I was in Explorer Scouts.
Right.
As an explorer at 16, 17 years old. You know, so there's those groups that can help younger people to get familiar with firearms and their use, proper use and handling and such, and little bits of training here and there, and awards, merit badges, things of that nature.
Well, and like I said, it's basically you're training, you're ready, you're able. If the local sheriff was to call on the veterans in his community, would you be able to meet his needs? But that's really kind of where the unregulated militia part falls, and a lot of people get it
Right.
confused. They think you just got a right to grab a gun and shoot for your beliefs, and it's
Right.
like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know, hold up.
Right. But it also
But,
deters shit like Antifa protests, which don't happen in these areas.
Wonder
And-
why.
Yeah, I wonder why, right?
They kept threatening to come down here and break up the monotony, but they never.
Well, they
never
did
come
try
out
to. They
here.
did try to roll through Eminence, and I think there was a guy on basically
There's
on
little
every
old
street
ladies
corner.
out there with their old double barrel.
And they
shotguns,
They
dude.
came through with the Greyhound, turned around, and then went back to St. Louis. So, anyways,
And that's a word out to any of these would-be mass shooters and shit. For every one of these nut jobs that's out there, there's 4 or 5. Hell, there's hundreds of us who are better armed and
yeah,
not the kind of person you want to run into
Right.
in a store if you have ill intentions.
Yeah.
So.
and I think I find one of the biggest qualities why I like to train with vets and have a lot of vet friends, not just because, you know, I support you guys having sat and talked with you about your experiences, but for the main reasons are that we love this country. You don't have to be a vet to love this country, and you don't have to agree politically that you can love your country and stand for the principles on which your country was founded, or the principles that afford you the right to think differently from someone else, to have a different opinion.
Well, people need
And
to
that's-
understand the difference between loving your country and loving your government.
Right, exactly.
Or questioning your country or questioning your government. They're two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Love my country. I don't even know what to make of the government right now.
That makes
It-
two of
it-
us.
it
That
just-
makes millions of us.
It's like the
actually.
damn Rocky Horror Picture Show in the White House. What the hell is going on right now? I mean, really.
It's a
come
shit
on.
show on steroids, brother.
It don't even make sense. You know, like you was asking before about the immigration. It was like, shit, pull a straw. I think they're just winging it as they go themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, it seems to be based on the model that the clergy model, which is what they're doing with Europe. But I mean, they're farther ahead of us, but we can see where that's heading. So
And as far as leaning left or leaning right, actually, I'm an independent.
Yeah.
I'm a constitutionalist.
Right.
I think both parties need to shove off. They've both caused enough mayhem and
Right.
havoc in this country.
Yeah.
Need to get back to the fundamentals, the roots, what
The
built
basics.
this country into an empire. So,
Right.
I mean, that's what made the U.S. Stand out from any other country. It was the first successful rebellion turned into a global superpower. It's never been seen before in history.
Right.
So what did we do to go from ragtag rebels to an empire? Well, we don't necessarily have to be an empire, but we can still be a strong country.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get back to those core fundamentals.
Right.
So,
Small
and-
government, no entanglement in foreign wars, recognition of individual rights, and the love of the pursuit of happiness ideal. I mean,
Well, and you have to also keep an eye with abuse of free speech. We got freedom of speech. Does that mean I can tell you I am going to kill you and actually lay out my plans to do it? No, that's going to land me in a police station.
yeah.
Well, there used to be a thing called the Feinberg laws. Teachers used to have to actually go through an FBI interview to be a teacher to make sure they didn't have radicalist viewpoints and things like that to bring into a
interesting.
classroom. So, that was during the Red Scare. Well, one of the keys to Marxism is to create what Marx called useful idiots. And it starts by sabotaging the education system. Things like quitting teaching the basics like civics
Right.
to let you wander into a voting booth as a useful idiot. And if you see what's happening in the country today, look back at the Maoist color revolution. The
I
ending
wrote
is,
a paper on that, and it's strikingly in parallel.
well,
the
the-
100 Flowers campaign, the young leaders, you know, and then we have the young global leaders of the WEF. It's all Maoist.
So when you bring up with Antifa and what they're doing with being useful idiots, they're destabilizing agents. They're just basically agents of havoc, chaos,
Yeah.
whether they even realize they are
Right.
being used as a tool or not.
Useful idiots. Yeah.
Okay, but if you look at the Maoist color revolution, it never ends well for the destabilizing agents because they are a threat to the incoming government just
Right.
as much as they were a threat to creating chaos.
So when
for
they get the
old.
power, then they turn on those.
Then they need to get rid of
those
their useful
agents,
idiots.
and down you go. So just
So-
remember that.
Antifa, do a little looking into the Maoist color revolution because if you get your way, they're going to come for you first.
Yeah. Well, Chris, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, do you want to share any contact info? If not, they can reach me through my contact form and I can forward it over.
I don't mess with much email or electronics.
And
as
you're
you
not
know.
a big social
But,
media presence, but
no.
you want to share anything underneath this video where people can find you if they want to ask you questions about ballistics?
Yeah, anything that got brought up today, if you have any questions, answers, just direct them to Matt here and he'll get a hold of me and I'll be willing to come on a second time and help
Yeah.
you all fill in any gaps that we missed.
Maybe we can do a follow-up. Get some more vet buddies over here to blow some shit up.
Yeah, and hopefully y'all could pick up a little bit of something from this video.
Right on. Well, I learned a lot today. Posture, further techniques on aiming with the rear sight and the strike point. Just a lot of good stuff. And I appreciate you coming out, brother, and we'll have to do this again.
Hey, no problem, anytime.
Thank you,
If
sir.
it involves shooting or blowing stuff up, I love it.
You're my guy. All right.
So-
Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time on the Exploration of Consciousness.
Hey, keep frosty.
Mhm.